1 Charlie's got an engine failure.
Once again, can't do it, and look at that, she rolls.
Hey my friends, so we are going to talk about VMC or VMCA accidents. This is going to be a multi-part series. It didn't intend to be that way, but it just kind of ended up as I got involved. It's just going to be too long-winded. So the first thing to understand, so this episode we're going to talk about what that means, and we're going to do some simulation in a Dornier DOE 17, which is a pretty anemic World War II fighter bomber, I guess you should say, it does a really good job of replicating flying like a modern GA piston twin if you lose an engine. So, but the number one thing to understand, we talk about VMC or VMCA, it's velocity of minimum control airspeed, okay, and they both pretty much mean the same thing. Velocity minimum control is VMC, or velocity minimum control airspeed is VMCA. The big thing here, and the thing that I don't see emphasized a lot, and we had 2 Cessna 310s and a B-55 Baron, is that is the speed in a straight line. That does not mean you can turn. So like in the 310, it's like 84 miles an hour. So that means the minimum control speed that you're going to have, that the rudder can control the airplane with the critical engine out and feathered. And remember, so red line is minimum control speed at full power on the good engine. So full power on the good engine. Clearly, if you cut the good engine, so let's say you're in a critical situation where you're going to lose it, the only option is you're going to have to cut the good engine. Well, then you're just back to your normal stall speed if the good. So we're talking full power, good engine, okay, and with your critical engine inoperative. So let's say in the 310, left engine inoperative, right engine full power, 84 miles an hour, critical, and you want to be in a straight line because that number is going to increase if you try to turn. All right, so you got to get the airplane stabilized. 84 miles an hour isn't going to cut it. So you want to be at blue line, climbing, get the airplane up to a nice safe altitude, under control, and then worry about where you're going to put the airplane, where you're going to land the airplane. Now, one thing I want you to take a look at is when we look at this airplane here, I know this is kind of a cheesy little toy, right? So we're talking about minimum control airspeed on a single engine. So if this engine is inoperative, the airplane obviously is going to yaw, okay, into the dead engine. So what are they saying? They want you to raise this dead engine, okay, and fly the airplane straight ahead. And that would be, in the case of the 310, 84 miles an hour straight ahead, right? So blue line is a separate thing. So blue line is the best climb speed single engine. And that can only be achieved if this propeller is feathered, okay? In ideal situation, clearly, if you're turning and trying to climb the airplane, you can see how that wouldn't make much sense. So the whole idea here is you're going to raise the dead and you want to work yourself to blue line. Hopefully you're at blue line, but you got to be above that red line, and then hopefully you can climb. But in a straight ahead configuration only, okay, until you get the airplane stabilized. So you're climbing, you get comfortable, then you worry about where you're going to go land the airplane.
So, let's see if we can try a right-hand circuit into the dead engine. We've done this a few times. Okay, takeoff flaps. Going to full power. Looking for 80. Okay, airspeed's coming. Okay, airborne. Stabilize. Positive rate gear up. Flaps up now. Climbing out. And getting the VMCA right there. And right engine has failed. clearing. Trying to make an immediate return. Oh boy, there's just no way. Into the dead engine, disastrous. Well, there she goes. It's just not going to happen. Airspeed. Okay. VMC. Gear up. Flaps coming up. Okay, engine failure, right engine. We're going to bank into the good engine. Banking into the left engine. Now, this is not going to happen. You can tell already, this is a no-go. We have no chance, none. It would never happen. So our only shot is we're going to have to land straight ahead. We're going to try to stabilize. Can we stabilize and even maintain any kind of straight flight? I don't think so. So we are way below. We have to take it in. So we got to kill the good engine. Killing the good engine. Killing the good engine. Putting her down. Flaps. See, forced landing. There we go. So you can see that by the terrain there that was the option. And that was a high density altitude situation. Like I say, this plane does a pretty good job of that. That was the only option that we had. And look, we can go to Wendy's. Insurance company will take care of it. I want to look outside the airplane here. And let's look behind us. So we got a lot better terrain that way. You see that? So we got high terrain there. And we got a lot better terrain over there. So if we're high density, and let's say the winds are calm, we want to take off that direction. So let's get our hind end up there. And let's go ahead and taxi on down to the other end of the runway there. There we go. Power up. Airspeed. 80, so that's okay. Come on. Come on, there we go. Okay. Lots of brake, but we're still not at VMC yet. Pulling the gear. Flaps are up. And right engine failure. Okay. Kicking in left rudder. VMC, VMC. Get that nose down. Nose down. Banking into the left engine. I'm going to run down this here. Okay, come on, come on. Boy, we cannot get that speed. Just looking for that speed. Just waffling right there. Once again, can't do it, and look at that, she rolls. Airspeed up. VMC. Rotate. Gear up. Flaps coming up. Okay, climbing out. We're We're at blue line now. Engine failure. Right engine failure. Rudder into the left engine. Bank into the good engine. Banking into the good engine. Nose down. Nose down. Nose down. Can't get stabilized. Boy, we just cannot maintain. Can't maintain. Alright. We're going to put it down right there. Combat flaps. I got my airspeed so we can touch it down. Okay, that's what we had to do. That's just what we had to do. Only option.
A VMCA rollover isn't a stall. The airplane rolling isn't the dead engine's wings stalling. It's the engine the good engine at full power overpowering the rudder. So these engineers design these tails to be able to, the bigger the tail, the more rudder you have, X, Y, and Z. So that roll happens, that's why those rolls are like this. Whenever you hear about a pilot and their family or people on board the airplane, that happening, it's just heartbreaking. And I did some research just on the Cessna 310 yesterday, and there have been 42 known, like registered, official VMCA rollovers, okay, that were fatal accidents. And so there are obviously more than 42 people that died. And that number, and that's just in Cessna 310s. Now, when you go back to history and you look at like how often they occur, it's sporadic. So it really, when I look at those, there are times in there where maybe it happened more than other times, but for the most part, it's really unfortunately consistent. Okay, and so that's where the human factors comes into play. Now, those VMCA rollovers, 95% of those were loss of engine right after takeoff at takeoff. So 95%. And the other thing I saw in there were a lot of crashes that were unknown causes. So, in a lot of cases, there could have been engine failures that people weren't aware of. There were engine failures in there where people had that happen to them at cruise, and they're going into land and they get slow, and then there she goes. So when we look at this 310 that crashed or the other, Santa Fe, that guy has had an unbelievable experience, amazing, and so it's a mind blower. So you'll see a lot of pilots that have a tremendous amount of experience that end up having an accident where you kind of scratch your head and go, well, I mean, how could somebody that experienced, how could that have happened to them? And that's where these human factors come in. How you mentally are dealing with it. It's really hard to tell, because there's just, you train and hopefully it works out when it happens. But so I really want to get into that.
Runway 20, right turns approved, clear for takeoff, winds calm. Clear for takeoff, 51 Charlie, thanks for help. 51 Charlie's got main engine failure. And say again? 51 Charlie's got main engine failure. 51 Charlie, Roger, you make the left turn to runway 33? Roger, 51 Charlie.